Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins. I saw this clip. I didn't see the clip, but I just saw that it exists. They're talking about who's going to win, the NFC South, and I kind of jumped at it. I literally just a second ago recorded a clip all about Kirk Cousins, and this idea that there's even a discussion, that there's even remotely a comparison between Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins is mind-boggling to me. I feel like Nick Wright is going to try to act like the Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker Mayfield are better, and so that's why I jumped at this, because I'm like, oh my god, I gotta see this, because I will always enjoy telling Nick Wright how wrong he is. So let's just jump right into it, see what they have to say. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll be huge fans of this move. But let's get into it, and we'll break it down from there.
Now the favorites to win the NFC South. Here's the odds to win the division: Falcons, Bucks, Saints, and Carolina. But the truth of the matter is this: 412 win percentage, worst in any division. So somebody needs to get to 10 wins. You can win it. So, Nick, who's the better bet to win the division, Kirk or the Bake Show?
The Falcons.
I don't think quarterbacks win divisions. Teams do. The Falcons are the better bet to win the division. That is listen, you're trying to trick me into becoming a quarterback wins guy by doing a quarterback division championships guy.
So then why do you keep associating Patrick Mahomes with all the wins of the Super Bowls if it's not? I'm really confused by that, because you constantly tell us what Patrick Mahomes' record is in the playoffs and Super Bowls and all of that, and you give him all the credit for winning the Super Bowl, and you call out Josh Allen for not being able to make Super Bowls or win Super Bowls. And if it's not so much about the quarterback, then why do you call out those quarterbacks but give all the praise and the flowers for Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, doesn't make sense now, does it, Nick?
And I'm not going to do that. Listen, Tampa overachieved a bit last year, given the fact that they had $70 million of dead money on their books, so they were kind of operating with 2/3 of a roster compared to the rest of the league, and they were still able to not only make the playoffs, but look good in the playoffs. Dog walk the Eagles, and then be right there in that Detroit game, and Baker throws the pick at the end.
They did not look good against the Eagles. The Eagles were just a terrible team and have completely given up. Every single play, every single throw that Baker made was... literally, there was like 3 missed tackles per play. All the yards came after the catch, after contact, because the Eagles just refused to tackle them. So that's such an absurd, asinine thing, number one. Number two, Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger on his throwing hand the game before, and A.J. Brown wasn't even playing. So stop acting. And the OC and the DC all got fired. So stop acting like that they dog walked the Eagles because they were just such a superior team to them, or that the Eagles, get out of here. Not to mention the Eagles then also had a bunch of players who just retired because they were at the end of their career and had nothing left in this tank. That had everything to do about the Eagles and nothing to do about Tampa Bay, because then they got completely beaten by the Detroit Lions. I know the score wasn't, super far apart, but if you watch that game, at no point did you think that Tampa Bay had any chance at beating the Detroit Lions. Not even for a second.
And Atlanta has been having, playing with an arm tied behind their back, and the arm has been the right arm of their quarterback. And so I actually, you guys remember, I picked the Falcons before the year to win that division, because I thought if they just have the 20th best quarterback playing football, they have enough talent. Instead, they had like the 30th best quarterback playing football, and they still were alive late. So I think Vegas is correct on this. Atlanta should be a favorite versus the rest of the division. I think minus 110 is a fair price.
Very smooth the way you picked against Baker, but made it look like he wasn't picking against Baker.
I like Baker. Ultimate team sport, guys. 53-man roster.
I like Baker, but it's the Falcons. Oh. There's no doubt. They have it exactly right. The odds are right.
Tampa could make the division as a wild card. I could see that.
Yes.
In the NFC, possibly, when you don't have as much depth as the AFC. But I think Atlanta, I don't know that I'd trust Atlanta come the playoffs.
Right.
But if Atlanta...
Can we stop with saying that they don't have as much depth as the AFC? They love painting this picture that the AFC is just this dominant powerhouse and that the NFC isn't. I mean, you have the 49ers, you have the Rams, you have the Eagles, you have the Detroit, you have the Cowboys. I mean, stop acting like that's somehow so superior, so inferior to the Bengals where Joe Burrow is hurt all the time. Josh Allen and the Bills, who we know that they're issues all the time. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson hasn't won a back-to-back playoff game. So get out of here that the NFC is so weak and the AFC is all big and strong, because that's just BS nonsense.
He's going to put up numbers.
He's going to
Cousins.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers did a worldwide media tour after he tore his Achilles. And I feel like people can argue about whether or not that was successful. But I think overall, he said, I'm going to play so soon. He did raise the bar or lower the bar of how devastating an Achilles is. And I feel like Kirk Cousins, who's 4.5 months out from tearing his Achilles, pre-Aaron Rodgers interviews, that used to be a huge deal, and now no one's talking about it.
Dancing on stage.
Well, my goodness.
Hold on, but why?
I'm just saying, dancing.
He's throwing the ball on the tennis court.
What day is today?
It's been 4.5 months.
No. I'm saying I'm doing April, May.
It's a few months.
July, August, September. So if it's been 4.5 months, it'll be 10.5 months removed when the season starts.
This isn't the AFC East.
No.
I'm the only one saying, you know what? The guy's 36 years old and
Yeah, this is being overblown. I feel very well versed to be able to talk about this with the injuries, because I've had so many injuries. Yes, Achilles used to be such a more severe injury. Now the way they recover it, the way how they do the surgery, allows for such greater stability and more solid and accelerated healing that's why you're seeing this. This is a more common thing. This is just what happens with newer technological advancements and newer innovative surgeries. So there's no reason to look and be like, well, this is what happened in the 90s. This is what happened in the early 2000s. It doesn't matter. What happened back then doesn't matter, man. At one point, if you hurt your knee, they used to just chop your leg off, man. There was no other surgery they could do. They're like, oh, we just got to cut this thing off, and now you're going to be hopping around for the rest of your life. That was just the way it goes. Things have evolved. That's why you see Kirk Cousins. He's also on a tennis court, which is, gives no give, which is hard on your body. That's why basketball players, knees and ankles and feet are just wrecked to havoc, because, there's no give. The force is so much more stronger than if you're running on, say, like grass, for instance. But I don't think you have to really be concerned too much in terms of Kirk Cousins making a full recovery. And same thing with Aaron Rodgers at this point. I understand the age. We love to just throw out a number. Say he's 36, he's 40, and he got this injury. It's just different. The Achilles is just not what it once was now. And the Achilles injury, that is. And so, we had Kevin Durant make an easy, effortless comeback, and so we've seen this again and again now. The surgeries are different. Every single athlete that gets injured now these days, we're like, wow, he came back so much faster. Like, wow, I can't believe he's back now. Like, it's just happening at an accelerated rate because surgeries are getting so much more efficient. The rehab process is so much more efficient, and just knowing how to heal the body is becoming so much more efficient. So I don't think, it's really that big of a deal at this point.
He did tear his Achilles. Is anyone going to take a breath and be like, no, I don't know if I'm going to tie my future to a guy with one solid Achilles?
Wait a moment.
I'm not have to be like, I got to be the mayor of fair.
So your answer is Tampa Bay.
I'm going the Bake Show. I'm worried about a guy who's not going to be at 100% health day one.
Can I be very clear here? You're not crazy at all. That's not a hot take. And as far as tie my future, if you're asking me, if I were running the Falcons, would I have signed them to this contract? I said yesterday, I wouldn't have done it. I understand why Raheem Morris did. And I think there is legitimate reason for concern.
To the point where, do you have to do some testing? And it's like, hey, can you...
You don't think they did all that?
Man, it's been,
they gave him $180 million contract.
Can he run faster than Cat Williams right now? I don't think so.
I actually think that some of this is probably absent of full physical, because I don't think he could pass the full regular physical right now, understanding this. So I think so let me be clear here. I think Atlanta's the right bet. I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of money on it, because I think your point that, hey, we don't know if the Achilles is going to hold up or what he's going to look like, that is a fair caveat. It is still, given the talent of the team. Yes. Brew loves their offensive line.
4th ranked according to PFF.
There you go.
Well, Achilles.
Where are the Jets? Jets might be that answer to your previous question. 31st offensive.
Whoa. Okay. that just went to a different clip. So yeah, I mean, I think Kirk Cousins, I really don't think at this point you have to be concerned about will he recover. He's not 95 years old here, so it's like we keep acting like 36 is a death sentence at this point, and it's obviously not. Okay, so we have to update our views of these injuries. I mean, tearing an ACL and MCL used to be like the biggest deal. It used to be like, oh, we're never going to see that player ever play again, or he's never going to be the same. Now it happens all the time. Happened to Kyler Murray, and it was like, oh no, what's he going to be? And the dude was running around like nothing had ever happened. So it's just the way it is. Brock Purdy, his injury, he also had a similar surgery. Obviously, it's a different part of the body, but it's it's an internal brace. I don't know how many of you guys really looked into this, but you get this internal brace. So essentially, they go in there, they stitch up the Achilles, they reattach it, and then they put a brace inside of it. So it's immediately so much more stable. So one, it accelerates the healing and also stabilizes the healing. So it heals in the way that it needs to. And you're able to begin recovery earlier on. And the earlier you can do recovery within the healing process, the better the outcome, specifically because of immobilization puts scar tissue, lays the scar tissue down in a way that is not conducive to functioning, right? That's why back in the old days, if you like hurt your arm and they used to put you like in a cast of some sort, or you broke your thing, right? It used to be like you can't move it like this. And then they realized afterwards, like you would have real bad shoulder problems. And again, you saw this in, obviously this is a silly example and an extreme example and unrealistic example. You saw this in the rookie of the year. He hurts his shoulder, he gets in this cast, and afterwards, he can like now throw real fast because of the tightness of the healing process. That's an exaggeration, but that is in essence kind of what happens, and it can be problematic, and that's why the recovery process can then take even longer, or the way how the scar tissue is laid down becomes very difficult for you to really come back to how you were, which is why you then have athletes back in the old days, and they still do this to a degree now. They have clean up surgery, right? They go in there, they remove some of the scar tissue, they shave out some of the bone, like it's more surgeries. That's not as important right now or as pressing with the newer surgeries, with healing and doing mobility and strengthening very early on, because then your body heals in a way in that it was designed to work. Your body isn't designed to heal or work when you're just frozen like this. So it's different. We know now that even broken bones, it's good to start to kind of weight bear on them. It used to be we just immobilize it and we don't touch it for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Now that's not necessarily the case. It's a different process. I broke my clavicle, and within like 2 weeks they were like, I want you kind of, lifting some stuff. I don't want you immobilized. When I was consulting with another doctor who was going to do surgery, and put a plate on there, he was like, the moment you come out of surgery, like, I want you to be like moving your shoulder around and doing stuff. Like you're not just going to be immobilized. It's how you accelerate this process and how you ensure that the body heals properly, because in essence you're also sending the messages to your body that you're using this body part, like it is important, so it heals itself. It encourages the healing process, because it's like you're sending the signals to your body. It's kind of use it or lose it, honestly, is the perfect example. Use it or lose it. And a lot of times when you get injured, you're not using it, so your body's like, all right, it's not that important. The way the bodies work. So I don't really think that there's too much of a concern. I think Tampa Bay will not win the division. I think Atlanta absolutely will. I think Atlanta will actually be a really good, solid team as long as everyone stays healthy, no injuries, and as long as the coaching staff prove to actually be competent and not over their head and not, overwhelmed by, the new responsibilities that they have. I think the Falcons will be a really good team, and I think that they'll be a tough out come time playoffs. I don't think like you're dying to face the Falcons come time playoffs. And I think they'll surprise a lot of people. And I think Kirk Cousins will continue to play as well as he has in the past. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Kirk Cousins will make a full recovery? Would you rather have Baker or Kirk? Who do you think is going to win the division? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing or the most amazing thing, either way, Let me know. Let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.